Alright, I'm going to do a how-to video on how to put dualies on a Rubicon, or any Honda, or any bike for that matter. It's pretty simple. You don't even have to jack the bike up off the ground. So, didn't want to disassemble this, but I'm doing it for you guys. So, the first trick is you need these little cone-shaped washers. I'll put a part number for a kit you can order them with. It comes with a lug nut kit. It's really cheap, and these little cone-shaped washers keep the wheel centered on the hub, the inside wheel, because these things are lug-centric. So you can see I've already got the little cone-shaped washer in there. That's what you're looking at, is this up in there. So you put that in there, okay? And then the next thing you need is you need a set of these. They're the really ghetto wheel spacer adapter hub things. You can buy them on eBay. They're about $25 a set. This is a 2.5 inch one. It's what I recommend doing. 2.5 inches gets you pretty far out from your hub, so you don't have to mess with your center cap or anything. So you put your cone washer on there, and then you thread on your wheel spacers on top of that. So this is acting like your lug nuts for your inside wheel, but it's giving you a nice surface. So that's a 22 millimeter, so put that on there. You don't want to go crazy torquing it down because the little cone spacer, you don't have a whole lot of thread on a Rubicon. The older Hondas that had longer studs, it's a pretty long wrench, so I put them on to about 45, 50 foot-pounds. Okay, so that's on there pretty good. Next thing you need is a wheel spacer. Depending on the wheels you're going to run is going to determine what size spacers you get. I'm running 5+2 inch IRS wheels, and then 2+5 deep dish high offset solid rear axle wheels. So what the 2 means is that there's 2 inches from the wheel to here. And what the 2 over here means is there's 2 inches from the wheel to the back. So I need 4 inches of spacer to make it work, right? Not exactly. See how this tire comes out past the rim a good bit, and so does this tire? You don't want your 2 rims right next to each other. It'll interfere with the tire's ability to seal on the bead. So the next trick is to figure out this width. So you can do a little bit of trial and error. The best way to do it is just trial and error, or just measure it real good before you order stuff. But so you got to let all the air out of this tire, pull the valve stem out. I'm not going to do it, but that's how you would do it. You pull the valve stem out, get all the air out of the tire, and what that lets you do is that when you bolt it on, it lets this tire suck up against this one. You can actually see where the tires are touching all the way around, and that's what makes this strong. These things themselves aren't that strong at handling a radial loading or a side loading or shear loading, but they are really strong and under tension. So what you do is you have it to where when you bolt this all together, it sandwiches your 2 wheels together. And then furthermore, when you put this sucker at 10-15 psi, it really sandwiches against this wheel hard, making them one solid unit and making these things reliable. So the trick to do that is, so you put this on, bolt it all down, whatever, and on my particular setup, I need one more spacer, because these wheels really aren't 5+2, they're more like 4+3. Now you'll see the trick here is I've taken out one of the studs and replaced it with a long bolt. A regular bolt just punches in there. That's actually just a hex head, but it's kind of punched in the aluminum so you can't even tell. Punches in there like a stud, and what that lets you do is it lets you use this stud to suck the wheel in against this wheel so you can put these other 3 nuts on. So bolt all this down. You could use Loctite. I'm not going to because I plan on taking this off pretty frequently. I'm really only doing this because I thought it'd be funny. So yeah, Loctite if you want, but if you tighten everything down well enough, it's not a big deal. So put that spacer on there, tighten everything down. No air in this wheel. Put it on there, and then use this longer stud to pull this wheel up against this one. With no air in this tire, you'll be able to get the 2 rims pretty close together. Torque everything down. Put your valve stem back in, aired up, and once you put air in that tire, it pretty much glues itself to this tire, and it's a done deal. Something else is good to mention is, depending on your wheels, it might be hard to get to your valve stem after you put this wheel on. So make sure your inside tire is at the air pressure you want to operate this at before you bolt it together. You actually see that it's making such a good seal that all this mud is getting trapped in between the 2 wheels, which is kind of a nasty side effect of having dualies as dirt gets caught between them. But you really, like I said, you really want these 2 wheels sandwiched against themselves. That's what makes it strong. You can see on this side, you cannot see any light through there. I mean, they are sandwiched on there hardcore once it's all bolted down and everything. So you got that one long stud. And so yeah, so the real tricks are that you probably you may or may not figure out on your own is you got to get the aluminum not the aluminum. You got to get the cone-shaped washers. They look just like this. I'll post a link to them in the description. You got to get the cone-shaped washers. You got to get the stud wheel spacers. I'll post a link to that as well, the one I use, the cheapest, nicest ones. And you got to put the longer stud in your outermost spacer. And don't be scared about stacking these spacers. People say, oh, you can't stack wheel spacers. That's complete bullshit. Especially because you're putting a smaller, lighter tire on the outside, and all it's really there for is some buoyancy. It's very rarely going to support the weight of the bike. And the fact that it's being bolted against another wheel in tension, you could stack 10 of these spacers on top of each other, and I really don't think you'd have any problems, other than you'd probably destroy your wheel bearings and break axles. But you can stack these spacers all day long. I know guys with 300s who, instead of buying a 2.5 inch, will stack, you know, 3 1-inch spacers because it's cheaper. And guess what? It works great. I've never seen them fail. These things you can't stack. Don't stack these. That's stupid. But these, because they're all lug-centric and they bolt together, you can stack them no problem. So I'm going to put that together and show you how it works. Alright, so we've got all the air let out of this tire. We've got our wheel lined up on there best we can. Oop, lost the lug nut. These nice little shiny lug nuts come with the cone washers I posted a link for if you look in the description. So thread that on there. You put that on the long one. Grab your impact, and then you see you might have to line it up a little bit. Boom. Now it's on there. Finish tightening it down. You see how all the other studs came through the holes real nice? And now you just gotta put the other 3 bolts on and air this baby up. See how flat it is when it's not aired up? You want to air it up because the more buoyancy you have on the outside, the more stable it is. Also, you may have to use a lot of spacers if you're running like 2 sets of solid rear axle wheels, or I don't know, whatever wheels you're going to run. You may have to use a lot more spacers, and that can get expensive. So a lot of people make custom wheel spacers, like 6-inch spacers and stuff. You could get some steel ones made. This is just the cheapest, ghettoest, easiest way to bolt on everything with parts from eBay. But on my 300, I had crush locks and I had custom aluminum spacers made. So it's just one piece that bolted on there and had 4 really long studs to suck the wheel on. Worked great for slamming 2 crush locks together. So you can get crazy with this. This is just the simplest / ghettoest way to do it. And by no means recommend this for trail riding. It will affect the handling of your bike. If you're on some uneven ground and one of the front tires happens to touch, which is only about 1 inch off the ground, it'll kind of steer and stuff. But yeah, it's a lot of fun for messing around in ponds or in swamps, and it actually does pretty good in the mud. So yeah, enjoy, guys.